And yeah, people probably aren't ready for this, for me to be live, right? Because we're usually 10, 15 minutes late. I'm usually 10 minutes late, something like that. Well, here we are. It is now, it's 9 o'clock. Hit the nail on the head. So, somewhere around 9 o'clock, usually a few minutes after, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you can join us. So, let's fucking go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy, and I'm coming to you one last time here on this 4-day weekend, coming to you one last time from beautiful Mexico. Puerto Penasco, known as Rocky Point, and just a little bit of a drive for us, about 4.5 hours. And Dawn and I drove down last week on Thursday, and we'll be headed home today with a truckload. If you want to know what that truckload is, start checking out my Facebook. I'm a pretty good follow. I think I have a few friend spots left too. Not many, but a few. So send me a friend request, hit the follow button, whatever you like to do. But we added a couple of metal mariachi band members. I picked up a month ago when I was here. I bought two metal. These are welded scrap metal mariachi men. And so I started my own band. I commissioned the artist to make me two more, because the first one was a cello and then a violin. And this time I got a trumpet and a drummer. But he made those for me. I commissioned him to make those because I want a complete band. And now I've commissioned him to make me even one more. We're going to go with 5. So next time I come down, I'll pick up that band member. And it's kind of funny. It looks great in my backyard. It really does. But an accordion player. Accordion players are, that's a nice touch for a mariachi band. So we picked that up. We bought something else great that I can't even show you, that he's going to tweak it a little bit for me, and is going to be absolutely amazing in my backyard. Another metal artistic piece. I'm a sucker for that stuff. I really do, because it's art I can understand, and I love it. So on my Facebook, follow me on my Facebook. I put a couple of we put a picture up of picking it up yesterday. And when we get home, obviously we'll situate them, and we'll put some pictures up of the 4 band members together. So it's all good. We're having a good time. Plenty of fish tacos. I've had my fill of fish tacos, and probably will do that one more time. Gonna meet a friend and a client for lunch down here. That client who moved here from Missouri and now lives down here. First time getting to see him while we're down here. So I love seeing clients anytime, anywhere we go. That if we can, get a meal in or get some time with the client, they've become friends, and it's a really cool thing for me. Really kind of a special thing for me, and much appreciated, obviously. So let's get to it. Let's see what's going on. So interesting. Somebody older that some of you might remember and recall, maybe some not so much. Chris Matthews. I think he actually served in the Carter administration, but he was big on Sundays or Sunday mornings or on the news for a long time. Chris Matthews. And Chris Matthews, I mean, we haven't heard from him in a minute. And since Trump has been in the picture, if we did hear from him, it wasn't very positive. And then you have Charlie Rose, Charlie Rose was just this nice, easygoing guy who would have conversations with people around a round table in a dark room. It's kind of before we had podcasting and started doing that, right? And he would do it on, you know, public broadcasting. You know, that is where his show was aired. But he always seemed like a fair kind of guy. People seemed to like him a little bit. And then at the end of, well, his career, I thought ended because there were a bunch of accusations about sexual assault or not, I don't even know if sexual assault, I workplace kind of things, making people uncomfortable, whatever it was. It wasn't good, right? And so he kind of disappeared, but apparently he's out there interviewing people somewhere and it's being broadcast somewhere. I don't know if he's doing a podcast or what it is, but it did make the news that, you know, Chris Matthews had something positive to say about President Trump. Uh, and so I'm just kind of laying that groundwork for this story because I know a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans like myself, uh, didn't have very fond feelings for Bill Maher, right? I can say this over the last year or so, at least the last year, my thoughts on Bill Maher have changed. I still know and understand that he's a hardcore liberal. He's uh, even no kind words are turning him into a Trump supporter. But on the left, the vitriol is so fierce and so off the chain that when you get somebody who's, you know, willing to acknowledge a Trump success, you're like, what? What did they say? And that's kind of the way it's been. He was even willing to do that, I think, before he met with Trump at the White House with Kid Rock. But it seems like even more now that he's willing to do this, right? He's willing to acknowledge some good things about a Trump policy or admit when he was wrong about, you know, a Trump policy too, you know? And we need to be able to do that on both sides because things are so off the chain, so off the hook. So now it's gone from he's Hitler and, you know, and we're little Nazis, right? To that now he is a pedophile, okay? And I think it's such a horrible thing to call someone unless they truly are a pedophile. And there's absolutely no evidence of that. And you can have evidence before a court hearing that could be brought out if there was, you know, some type of um, video or other audio or something, you know, knowing somebody who is a pedophile does not make you a pedophile, doesn't make us pedophiles. It's no different than, you know, somebody committing murder and there were people that knew that murderer, you know, family, friends, and they had no idea. And then it turns out like, what? He murders it? Like, okay, it doesn't make those other people bad people. Okay. You know, maybe they're sometimes we have and we all mistake or misjudge character sometimes, right? Trump is not perfect. Okay, he's not perfect, but the dude just seems to get the job done, the job that we really need and have to get done, or we're in deep serious shit. And I've never seen somebody take on so much stuff at one time than what Trump is taking now. So hey, if you're liking the show, obviously, I'm just doing it myself today. Leo will be with me on Wednesday. Please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button for me. Drop some comments. Tell me, you know, what you think. It's Maria. How are you? Yes, hi to you. So I can actually see comments. I can't always do that when we're doing the show back in Arizona, but I can today. So if you want to drop a comment, I might be able to respond to it. But just appreciate all the love that you give and the chance to take a few minutes of your time to listen to this rambling old man who might know a few things, and love to share those things with you. And thoughts, just breaking it down just as a regular guy, um, just trying to make things a little bit simpler. I used to do that as a financial advisor, take, complex financial things and be able to explain them to people in a way that made them feel comfortable and to know that they're making good decisions, things like that. So, look, as I was saying, that Trump's not perfect. He's not, but he is what we have. He is the man of the times, and he's getting a lot of stuff done. Nobody has ever attempted to do this many things all at once. And it would be smart of Democrats to try to work with Trump where you can. But how are you going to work with somebody that you're calling a rapist? How are you going to work with somebody you're calling a pedophile? Okay, Trump's not going anywhere. And liberals never gave a fuck about pedophiles in the first place. So this pretend outrage now, we're all over it. We're like, get the fuck out of here with that. That doesn't fly with us, because you didn't care when children were being trafficked across the border. But now you care because you think this time you got the thing that's going to kill Trump off. Okay. And it's again, unless there is truly a smoking gun, it's just not. It's important, and we're not going to let Democrats use this issue in this way, because we are the ones, conservatives, and we're still here. MAGA supporters, people who were MAGA even before Trump, like me, we want the Epstein files and accountability. Somebody else, this, what's a good way to say it that some have said, that he didn't do this alone. Other people were involved, okay? These children, teens that you can think whatever you want, utter horseshit. It's true. Whether you don't have to agree with the truth, brother, but he didn't do it alone. There were other people, obviously, that these kids were or teens were trafficked to, okay, or people who participated in it, and that information has to be somewhere, and we want that information, and we want the government, to the best of their ability, to go after these people, no matter who they are, on any side. All right. So that's what's important for us to be able to do. And we're the ones that wanted that. Now, getting back, that doesn't mean that there aren't other things going on, because there's 100 other things going on. And if you remember, with the tariffs, the world was going to fall apart. Everybody was predicting a recession. People were predicting, even a depression. The world was going to fall apart. The consumer was going to pay all of the tariff, which is not true, and we can see that now. The consumer's paying a very, very small amount, and we've had some time now. It's been some time. It's been a minute since all of this thing has gone on, and we've seen market fluctuations. We saw the market take a big hit. All right, so you're MAGA. Cool for you, dude. So I didn't understand the utter horseshit comment, though. If you're agreeing with it, you got to communicate in a way that I can understand you too. I know it's text there, man. I'm not trying to be a dick, bro. But if you're agreeing with something, that's fine. Say that. If you're not, that's okay too, man. I'm not trying to just convince people to agree with me. What I'm trying to do is to get people to be a little bit more rational, because if you go on X, it's insanity. And maybe it would be good if we all got off X. All right. I appreciate that, Hermit. I do, man. The pedal thing. There you go. Now I understand. Thank you. It is. And it's not fair to, in what they're doing now and saying anybody who supports him or voted for, you're a pedo too. It's just not the case. And you've called us all these names over and over again, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't changed anything. And look, you liberals are stupid. You're not when you do the same thing over and over again and get the same result, yet you keep doing that. That's called insanity. Okay, expecting a different result. What you're doing is producing this result, and you're continuing to do that, and it's not a good result for you. You got to change the game plan, and a smarter game plan would be to agree where you can agree, and that's what I'm going to get to here. Is find a place that you can agree and work with the president, like on immigration. Okay, nobody can dispute that without the legislation that the Senate tried to pass, there was a bill before at the end of Biden's term that got sunk, and people credit Trump with sinking it. They said he just wanted an issue, right? But what truly happened is it was a bad bill that would have allowed a couple thousand people a day. So it still would have allowed mass illegal immigration. All right. And only went to a certain amount for so many days would it trigger and cut the amount down. Without that, by sinking that, with no new legislation, Trump has been able to bring it down to a dribble. You're talking about, like, in June, 8,000 encounters, 6,000 apprehensions, and 0 paroled and released. All right, those were the numbers, roughly within a few, for June for illegal immigration. It's phenomenal numbers of what's done. The problem people are having now, it may be even some people that are independents that supported Trump, or people that, maybe a little bit, not hardcore conservatives, is the deportation and how that's been presented. Look, that's what I'm trying to say. Democrats could work with the president, or at least try to, and say, hey, we get this is working. Our issue is with the people that are already here. Is there any room to talk to you about the dreamers? Is there any room to talk to you about this or that? And if you remember, Trump upset a number of conservatives in his first term, when he seemed open to some ideas like that. Okay, the guy's pragmatic. Okay, he's trying to get things done and get the best win possible. He's not always trying to crush his opponent 100-60. Okay, that's not what he's trying to do. He just wants to get the win and help get the country on track. And again, look, it's no different than him being kind of open to people who have been working for 10 years with no records, with no additional criminal record, and people who are working on farms and stuff to work with the farmers, right? Kinda. We both know Hermit Kennedy would be a Republican now, right? A little bit, yeah. Old school Kennedy Democrat, man. Look, we don't even have blue dog Democrats. Remember, Clinton was like the last of the blue dog Democrats. Oh my God! I mean, they've moved so far left to we all have exactly. We've gotten this situation where people are so far left on the one side that's where they are. And then, on the right, where we were supposedly always for the rich, now have become the people that are the party that is for the working man, that we want to dub. If you're working, you're all working men. I'm a working man. I've done hardcore labor, and I've done suit jobs. Let me tell you, I love my friends who do that kind of hard work. I've done it myself, but I prefer the suit kind of jobs. But now I'm lucky enough to do it in t-shirts and shorts, which is good too. You know, it's about making money, and I want everybody to make money. I want everybody to make it. You know, it's not a finite pie. I want people to understand that the pie can be made bigger, and that we do need to address uh, income inequality, financial inequality. It does need to be addressed 100%. But the answer isn't, you know, trying to take more money from a handful of billionaires. They already pay a lot. That there's another way to do it, and you have to understand what the core problem is, which has really been inflation, and that's what hits the lower class the lower and middle class the hardest is inflation and not owning assets. And when you understand that, then you can better come up with an answer of how to address the problem. But my whole point is Trump is open to talking to the other side. He honestly is. He's done it in the past. And especially now that it's his second term, he don't give a fuck. He don't give a fuck, because he's not, there's not gonna be a third term. That's all a lie. Okay, he does like to troll the left and fuck with them a little bit, and some of them still believe that stupid shit, even though he finally said, no, I'm not gonna do that, you know. But then he'll say, but some people really want me to. And he just likes to fuck with you people because you're idiots when it comes to this. If he's not doing it, he's not a dictator and hasn't acted like a dictator. But we have had somebody who has, okay, and they mandated masks. There you go. So that's what I'm trying to say. Trump is willing to work with you. And so now we get to tariffs, and now we get back to Bill Maher, right? Bill Maher, I think saw a side of Trump and saw him more in a more human way than he did before. That even though he doesn't agree with him, he doesn't see him as this monster. I compare that to watching the quarterbacks. It's a documentary, okay, on Netflix. And this season that they just dropped recently had Joe Burrow on it. And I always kind of liked Joe Burrow. You know, I'm a Steeler fan, but I thought the kid had some moxie. I liked his cockiness a little bit. You know, I liked what he, you know, followed his career from Ohio State to LSU and what he did. And I can just say he has a funny sense of humor. You know, he's not for everybody as far as taste and clothes and what he likes, but he just does himself. And it was interesting to get to find out something more about him. And I kind of like him a little bit more now than I did when I first started watching it. And that's just because I got to see a more human side of him, and that I didn't think was fake. Okay, I think I'm pretty good at noticing when people are fake, like Tim Walz. Okay, there couldn't be a more fake dude in the world than Tim Walz. Like, he's trying so hard to be a man. Okay, it's not that hard. When you are truly a man, it comes pretty easy. It's not that damn hard, dude. It's not complicated. So, yeah. So there was this. I wanted to get to it because I thought it was really interesting. Liberal comedian Bill Maher admitted that he was wrong about President Donald Trump on tariffs in a podcast posted Monday. And he's got to own it because the economy is thriving. Now, we did have some economists not too long ago, right, that had taken, you know, some shots at Trump. He was one of the, and that was over a month ago, was the first one to kind of admit as an expert that it's looking like he was wrong about the tariffs. And you people that are trying, that don't understand Trump, you take him too motherfucking literally, and then you call him a liar. Okay, he said he would do this on day one. Well, it's 6 months now, and this, the dude is working. Like, I don't care how much the motherfucker golfs, okay? Nobody has, Dawn, yesterday, something came up we were sharing with each other. She goes, I don't think that dude ever sleeps. And I go, it doesn't seem like it. When does Trump sleep? It's like I do workations. That's what I'm doing now. Okay, I'm working wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing. I feel like Trump does that to even a higher level, and to do that at his age. And I'm doing this at 57, and it's not easy. And I'll just say it. I think he's working harder than me. Yeah, that's kind of true. That's kind of true, Rob. That's kind of true. That people who, after they meet him, they're surprised. They're surprised about the interest. But if you've ever, like, I remember watching Trump some months ago, early in his presidency, when he went to visit the people in North Carolina. They did a press conference, and Trump brought the people that were affected in that area, and he allowed them to share their story to the world. Okay, he brought the stage to them and gave it to them. He stood off the side, he nodded, he asked questions, he was truly engaged. That didn't look fake to me. That looked so real. And I'm just gonna take, to me, it was 100% real, that he really cared about those people and wanted them to know that they're being heard by giving them the opportunity. And these aren't people that are public speakers, that's their thing, or that they're good at that. But he gave them an opportunity to share what was true for them and what was happening, and the help that they needed and the help that they weren't getting in North Carolina after, all that terrible floods and waters and everything. So, like, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I think Rob means here is people change once they're in his presence and listen to him and how engaging he is and the questions he's. Look, go watch before the election, watch his interview with Theo Vaughn. It's awesome. Theo Vaughn is talking to the former president at the time, and presidential candidate, about doing coke and being lit up doing coke. And Trump was genuinely interested in how it affected him, right? Because Trump's brother was an addict. So Trump had questions. Trump's never done drugs. But he genuinely showed he cared. It was real. That's why people voted for the man, because that was real. It wasn't fake. It wasn't, 2 10-minute segments cut up, to make him look good on 60 Minutes. Okay, it wasn't that. The other side tried that shit and it didn't work. Trump exposes himself every day. Every day he exposes himself. He's open to criticism every day. Nobody talks to the media more than he does. And as much as the media hates him, they love the access that they have to him. They'll admit that. Check it out for yourself. Just look at the press conferences, how excited they are. And they'll go, oh, you want me to keep going? You have a few more? Yeah. They're all fucking cheering like little kids, man. They're excited. And he'll answer questions. And a lot of time, what I find interesting about Trump, and I understand it because it's kind of how I think and talk too, is you'll go off on these different areas because you're talking and thinking at the same time, thinking things true. So sometimes when you do that, the thought isn't coming out imperfect. It doesn't come out perfect, because you're thinking about the actual situation and working it through as you're talking. And what sounds good? What works good? Does this make sense? And he's trying to figure out, but he shares that whole process. Nobody has ever fucking done that. He is more connected than any other president has ever been, and understands how to do it in the new age with the media. And to do it at his age in the 80s? Are you fucking kidding me? You don't know my dad is 83 fucking years old. My dad has never sent a text in his life. To this day, he still hasn't sent a text, and still has a flip phone, with the three, for him to send a text would be fucking, oh my God, it'd be impossible. He can get his girlfriend to send a text though for him, but he hasn't even sent a text. And Trump understands this stuff to, at least a degree that other 80-year-olds just do not. And certainly the pulse of America or Americans. But again, my whole point is, Bill Maher is going to disagree with Trump on 10 other things. But this one thing, I think it's important that he's able to say, hey, guys, I was saying it, but it's looking like I was wrong. That the economy is doing pretty well and thriving. Are prices way down? No, prices are not way down for the most part. What's happening is the prices are not increasing like they were. Okay, so the increase is very small now. So the percentage of increase has come way down. And it's so funny. If you haven't seen this, you definitely got to check it out. If I haven't posted it on my Facebook, I will, for you guys to check out because it's so crazy. So Democrats last week thought they were going to be really cute on their X account, and they posted a chart over the last 4 or 5 years. And they said this chart shows that prices are higher in June or July of 2025 than they were in 2024. And while that might be slightly true, what that chart showed was you had Trump, you had Biden, and now you have Trump, where it's leveled off. And that the huge increase came under Biden. And they posted it on their website like they had, they're going to get Trump with this chart. And they basically got themselves, and they got hammered on X and took the chart down. But everybody had snapshotted it. Everybody else was sharing it, making fun of them at that point. But it shows what's really, really going on, or what has gone on. Okay. And so people know that, and I think it matters when people feel like they have hope. And it's a shame that there's a percentage of this country that because of their hate, they don't feel hope right now. Because I think that's true for most of us that follow Trump and are MAGA supporters, that we feel hope. I can do well in any administration or economy, okay? That doesn't affect me in that way. I grew my business substantially during the Biden administration because what I do has nothing to do with Biden and everything to do with me. But the price increases did affect me, to a degree. And I had to raise some prices on some things that I do that I hadn't raised in a very long time. But I determine my success. I'm not relying on the government. And that's kind of the message, isn't it? Isn't that the message that we have as conservatives? Is it's up to you, man. Stop waiting for the government to save you. Find something, find a way. And, I've had to suck it up and do hourly wage jobs sometimes while I was building something else, and you have to do that to make it. Everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. The difference is the people who reach the 1% just don't quit. They just don't quit. And they were willing to work, whether it took 5 years or 10 years to get there, and not quit. That's what I'm willing to do with this podcast. I've been doing the podcast for over a year. Do you think I'm happy having less than 400 subscribers? Okay, with the work and the money that I've put into this, I'm like, this is it. What do we need to do? What do we need to change? I'm constantly thinking, but I want it to be 100% authentic. But I knew when I started this, and I also told this to Leo when I got him to join me in doing this podcast, that, dude, I'm in for a minimum of 5 years. I'm in this for 5 years to make this work. And that's everybody that's been a successful podcaster. It seems like in year 5 or 6, all of a sudden in 1 month, they get more subscribers than they had in the previous 4 or 5 years. In 1 month, boom, it just hits and goes, and for whatever reason. And I don't know any different. I'm just going to grind and believe and just keep going. And what's the worst that can happen? I'm doing fine now. Financially, I'm doing fine now without this being a financial success for me, right? So me wanting to do this is more about me serving and sharing than it is about the money. Because if it was just about the money, after I'd probably say, oh, fuck this, I'll just cut my losses and be done. That's what most people do. But I was like, no, man, I'm not gonna do that. Leo and I knew that the statistics, as shared by Alex Hormozy, if you don't know who he is, you should get to know who he is, that most people that try to do a podcast don't get past one to three and they quit. That's 90% of people don't get past 1 to 3 and they quit. So then that leaves 10%. Well, that other 9% of that 10% quit before or don't get past 20. Okay, they don't get past 20. And all I had to do to be in the bottom of the top 1% of podcasters with less than 400 subscribers, I'm in the top, or actually the bottom of the top 1% of podcasters by just getting to episode 21. And we've done well over 100 episodes now, okay? Because we did it consistently. We did a minimum of 2 a week. Recently, we've gone to 3 a week. We're doing lives, we're doing interviews, we're adding reaction, more and more content. Currently, we're investing even more money into it and building another studio. We had a pretty good home studio. Another studio is being built as we speak, and hopefully we'll be in there in the next couple of weeks, and you guys will be able to say that. But I'm willing to do the work and willing to grind and not get an immediate reward or satisfaction. How many people are willing to do that? So that when I finally do hit, okay, and it increases my income and value even more, people just see that part. They don't see the part that it took to get there, the struggle that it took to get there. And I like to share all of it. Sharing with you right now the absolute truth about how I feel doing this and the struggle that it is, and the struggle's in here, the struggle's in there. That's just entrepreneurship. It's business, and I understand that. So it helps keep me on this right path of being grateful for what I have, but wanting to do more and having more. And I'm going to keep striving for that. But I think it's awesome, as I was saying, to have somebody like Bill Maher, and he's not the only one, but he's one of the very few. I'll also put Stephen A. Smith in this category too, where Stephen A. Smith will at least be reasonable. He's not a conservative. But he's not a liberal fanatic, okay? But he's willing to take his side to task, right? And tell them, like, look, this isn't going right. You need to do something else, and this is actually a good thing. And he's open to those discussions. He's open to being more fair and talking to people on the other side. And the problem is there's just too few of those, okay? And we need to do the same on our side. I think a big part of it is that, it's hard for us to do when it seems like that's the case on the other side, right? That when we're attacked, we want to attack back. So I think it's something that needs to kind of be done in unison, that both sides need to do. And hopefully we can work towards that. So he made this admission on his podcast about the Trump tariffs. and he was with another progressive YouTuber, Brian Cohen. Just to take an example, tariffs. Now, remember that I, along with probably most people, was saying at the beginning, oh, by the 4th of July, the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me, Mayor said. But that didn't happen. It could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump, because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty, which is exactly 100% right. He's 100% right there. The truth is, I don't know what his strategy is, but look, the stock market is at record highs. I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people just out there living their lives. You know what I saw down here in Mexico? This is this Rocky Point here is a big place that people come from Arizona, from the Phoenix, from the suburbs of Phoenix, like me, Queen Creek, drive across the border and come here. It's not Cancun. It's not a crazy, vacation at the Hard Rock Resort, which I've done that. This is more relaxed. You're going to have more families, people that just want to get away a little bit, eat some great food, which we did, clean, healthy food, which we did. And we worked out, we met new people. We just had a nice, relaxed, and I worked all at the same time, just like I'm doing right now, doing that. And we'll do it all the way home when we leave today. I would have thought, and I've got to own it, that these tariffs were going to fucking sink this economy by this time, and they didn't. How do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact. And yet there are still some people that want to deny that fact. He's at least willing to acknowledge it and say that he doesn't understand and that he was wrong and maybe some other experts are wrong. Maybe it'll still go to shit, but it's probably not going to go to shit if it does, if just because of, the tariffs. And I think it's wrong for conservatives to not at least acknowledge, well, yeah, he said that, but I still hate Bill Maher. Man, we got to get past that shit too. That doesn't get us anywhere. All right. When somebody on the other side is willing to be reasonable like this, we need to engage with that. Okay. As a country, we need to engage with that. And I get it how hard it is because they're being such assholes and the name calling and things. And I don't know if you saw what happened in Cincinnati or not, but there was a couple, and then there was another guy that I've seen that were attacked by large groups of people. And it's racial. It was a group of seemingly younger Black people ganging up and hitting. We don't know what happened prior to that or what instigated it, but to say that these people did instigate it and that this kind of nonsense violence just doesn't happen out of the blue is just not true. We've seen it, with that whole knockout thing where a small group of young thugs would run up on somebody who doesn't even see them and they would hit them from behind and knock them out. Okay. Randomly, that person did nothing to them. They're just innocently walking down the street, going about their lives. Again, we don't know the further details about this yet, but it did just happen in Cincinnati this past weekend, and maybe we'll see more about it. But that kind of shit's it's off the charts. It's off the charts. Okay, when you have Border Patrol agents getting shot in the face and people cheering that on and thinking that's okay. It's not okay. Okay, that's never going to be okay. Never. And for somebody to, it's the same group of people that cheer on Mangione because they hate healthcare. and hate rich CEOs. That rich CEO may be a piece of shit, and his company may be a shitty company. Okay, it's not okay to cheer on his murder. There is a line. There is a line. Okay, you can hate somebody, dislike them, whatever, but going that far where you want to cheer on their demise, that's not okay. It's just not. And things have gone too far, and we got to do something about that. And so part of that is on us as well. So when somebody is willing to engage and be reasonable, then we need to meet them there too, and be open to that. And you know, when things get done, a lot of times both sides don't get exactly what they want. You know, it's going to not be perfect. The other side isn't going to get what they want. You're not going to get what you want, but we can solve a problem, try to make things better, and move on to another issue, because we have a number of issues, right? There's a whole plethora, and this is an opportunity as a country for us to take advantage and try to get some of these things resolved more than has ever been done at any other time, which is just amazing. If I was good, Cohen responded that the tariff saga is an example why he stopped making bold predictions. If I was good at predicting things, Hillary Clinton would have been president in 2016, Cohen said in April. Remember, I love those clips, and I bet you guys do too, those clips of right before Trump's first term of everybody and their brother, every Obama, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, literally everyone saying that Trump was not going to be president. That's never going to happen. Yep. In April, Mayer took a swipe at Trump over his completely ass-backwards approach to China and suggested he was rooting for a recession to get him to reverse course. I just feel like he picked a fight with the wrong bully, Mayer said at the time. Trump has slapped a slew of tariffs on countries across the globe since taking office, aiming to rebalance what he calls unfair trade deals. Mayer challenged one of Trump's central tariffs arguments in March. I have one basic question. Why do we want to bring back manufacturing? It's so 70s, you know? I mean, that ship has sailed, you know? There are countries that make jeans for $11. We're never going to be that country again. You know, in some cases, that's a little bit true. Yeah, you're 100% right, Rob. Yeah. And, you know, look at what Trump has done with NATO from the first term to this term, and how he's also changed his mind, how he's gotten NATO to reform and gotten everybody on board, how he's getting Europe to do their share, rightful share of the things that need to be done in the world, that need to be done by the leading countries, and getting them involved. Okay. Yeah, maybe we won't make jeans again. Maybe Bill Maher's right, we won't make jeans again, but we should be making drugs again. There are certain things that we need to make. And I think the greatest example of that is COVID. We learned how bad it was to not have production of certain things here. So there are certain things here just because of, you know, emergencies, severe, crazy emergencies, that we need to be able to do certain things here. So not everything, but to bring more of that here, or to still make things, you know, more balanced. And it's not just about, you know, bringing the manufacturing back here, which is good. It's also these countries not only had tariffs on our goods, but they also had other obstacles and restrictions that made it almost impossible for people in other countries to buy our goods. And in fairness, those should be removed. Okay. And he's getting those removed. And Scott Bessent, if you don't know who he is, the Treasury Secretary, is phenomenal mind. He's a super intelligent rich guy, very, very good at what he does. Maybe between him and Rubio, Rubio's done a phenomenal job in the State Department. That those two are by far the two best people that Trump has in his cabinet. And maybe we will throw Tulsi Gabbard up there soon too, if she keeps going. She's doing a pretty good job, isn't she? So, but absolutely, 100%. Scott Bessent is the real deal, and it's great. Averting a protracted trade war. Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced a trade deal between the U.S. and European Union on Sunday that set a 15% tariff on most EU goods imported into the U.S. You know, I guess there's not going to be a tariff on our goods going there. And then some other restrictions are going to be lifted as well to make it easier to purchase our goods there, to balance. And they acknowledge that. And right up to what happened here, right? Right up to this, even on Sunday, even yesterday, there was a point where they were saying it's about a 50-50 chance that they got a deal done. And not too long after that, the deal was done. You know, they pushed through, and I think that's amazing. So, you know, I don't care what Trump promised and how many days he was going to get these tariffs deals done. They're getting done. The bottom line is they're getting done. And if you want to be an ass and hold him accountable for not matching exactly what he said, do that then. Be a miserable person. Because like I said, taking Trump literally is the wrong thing to do. Take him seriously, not literally. Okay? Seriously. And he's always used these big, grandiose words. I mean, I don't know how many times in the last several weeks I've heard him repeat the words in every press conference. And now I'm in media and I understand marketing. So I understand what he's doing, and I'm going to explain it to you. Why in every single meeting, he can be out at the helicopter with reporters. He can be at this European Union trade negotiation. What he keeps repeating is, we weren't the hottest country in the world. We were dead, you know, and now we're the hottest country in the world. Everybody says it, and he keeps repeating that over and over. Okay, it's good to repeat things over and over. Okay, you manifest things. That actually is the thing. What you focus on is what you get. But even more importantly is getting that message out. Because of the news and information that I consume, I've seen him say it 15 times now in 15 different places. But for somebody else, it may be the first time that they're seeing it. And that's why he repeats it. In radio, they used to make us like we'd have these short 10-minute segments or so, right? And coming back from a commercial, we would say the call letters. Going out of the commercial, we would say the call letters. I mean, you literally could not say the call letters too many times. And they had done studies on this stuff and how that all worked. So there you go. That's what was necessary for people to be able to remember. So Trump repeats that stuff, not because he's stupid, but because he's smart and he's talking in a simple language that the most amount of people can understand. That's the goal. Yeah, you're right about that, Rob. 3 terms of wins in 6 months. Nobody has ever tried to do this much ever. And then nobody has ever gotten this much done. And that's around the world. Now, you know, people can be disappointed about Russia and Ukraine, but look where Trump started. He started and was hammering on Ukraine, which I was happy with, okay, because I'm not a fan of that corrupt country and giving them money. He's gotten the European Union to kick in more, which they needed to do. This is a European issue, not just an our thing that we should be taking care of. And as you know, he thought because of his relationship with Putin that he'd be able to get it worked out and get these two to the table and get something finally worked out. But as Russia has not done the things that he expected that they would do or said that they would do, he's turned the screws on them. And he's not afraid to do that. And a Russian asset would not do that. That's because people keep repeating that kind of stuff. That's why it's important that the Tulsi Gabbard stuff that she's releasing, about Russia, and the hoax gets put out there, and that those people are held accountable. So that's never done to any president again of any party. That cannot be done. You cannot use. We cannot use our own intelligence agencies against Republican or Democrat or independent candidates who are running for president. It cannot happen and be done. That's a hard line. So that being said, I think that he's doing the best with the situation that he could, and he's just not letting things go. It just seemed like for several years under Biden, we were doing nothing to stop the war. At least we're trying to stop the war. And he's trying every means necessary to stop the war without us getting involved militarily directly, where we are involved militarily. I know that. But militarily where it's our people shooting the rockets or our people, flying the planes that are bombing something or getting boots on the ground, keeping that from happening. And again, where the tariffs can be a powerful tool, and where Trump is going to do this and say any country who does business and helps Russia get oil or get their oil sold, if you're going to pay a price for that, because that's how they've been able to fund the war is through that and through energy, supplying energy. And even as Rob commenting on here pointed out, with Germany and natural gas, again, that's what's given them the money to be able to fund the war and what they're doing in Ukraine. And at least Trump's trying. So I don't care that it's not solved on day one. I see the guy and the team doing the work to work towards a solution. If he had just given up, then I'll go with you and just say, agree. But not at this point. Not at this point. He's still doing the work, which I think is important. And like I said, I've just used this one example and talked for an whole hour, but of Bill Maher, but and Chris Matthews as well, saying something nice about Trump. But it would be smart, Democrats. Okay, it'd be smart. Instead of trying to do workouts and pretending like you're men, just be yourself and try to find a place where you can work with Trump on an issue. Okay, the border has been secured about as good as it's ever going to be. It'll never be perfect, but this is near perfection. So then immigration and mass deportation, if there's a certain group you would like to help, go to him with that. Go to him with an offer. Say, we can make this all easier. We'll agree to these other things that we really don't want to agree to if you'll help us with this, 1.5 million group of people or whatever it is, that were dreamers or whatever kind of thing. Okay. And to put them on a path to citizenship. And again, a lot of Republicans don't want that. I get that. But I do know for a fact that Trump just is open to that kind of stuff. He's pragmatic. He's not a traditional conservative. He just wants to solve problems and move on. So help him solve a problem and take partial credit for it. Give him his credit for being willing to work with you, and he'll say nice things about you. When Democrats have been willing to work with him, he's said nice things about them. And the country is better for it when that happens. So, guys, my Facebook, check out my Facebook, X. I have a few more followers on X than I do here. X is so fucking hard to build a following now. It's super ridiculous. but I'm engaging and I'm trying. And probably my meanest, most controversial stuff is on X. I don't take shit from anybody, especially on X, because those people are unhinged lunatics. A little softer side of me, enjoying life, which I do every single day. I'm not mad, okay? Not very, very rarely. And if I am, you'll know it, and I'll share that. But yeah, Instagram, I had to restart an Instagram account because of bots and things after building it up to 15,000. I had 15,000 on my TikTok, and that, got shut down, even though other people are still using my old videos that I got shut down for, explaining about peptides and TRT, and somehow it's okay that people pretend that they're me. Make sure it's at the Real Outlaw Apostle on TikTok now. I think I'm between 3,000 and 4,000 now uh, on TikTok, and building that back up. And then, of course, Facebook, I have over 5,000. So, any of those places you can follow me on, and I share. Also, those make it easier to contact me directly if you'd like to do that for help with anything, business things as well. You can shoot me a message, and I'm pretty good at responding on those. So Wednesday, okay. I don't know if we'll be on at 9 o'clock, but probably by 9:15, right? We'll be back. Appreciate y'all. Love you. God bless. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And thanks, Rob, for the comments.